to the Coaching Crucible. This is Drayton Boylston. I'm here with the infamous and famous, all at the same time, Gary Henson.
Hello, everybody. Coach Gary here, saying hi to all of you and looking forward to another robust conversation with coaches and wannabe coaches and successful and unsuccessful coaches, whoever's out there.
Yeah, and that unsuccessful, boy, we're going to address that, aren't we?
Yeah, why not?
We want to see if we can help with that.
That's the point.
So one of the things that really happened last time that made Gary and I very, very happy is that we had a ton of questions posed by all of you. So remember, Gary and I are here. This is a public service endeavor. We are here for you to answer any questions that you have, to address any subjects that are on your mind. So we want to make this interactive, completely interactive. While there are a million things we can talk about, we want to make sure we're addressing exactly what you want and need. So I want to see a lot of hands go up and questions in the question pane. We're looking at all of those right now. So tell me, and we do this when we work with organizations, so what are the points of pain that are really bubbling up? What's hot for you right now that is just top of mind, really a concern for you that you want somebody to help you out with? So let's start with that, and we've got some questions. Let's see, we've got some.
Well, Drayton, while you're looking at that, let me just say, so for example, if your income isn't where you want it to be as a coach, that's a great area for Drayton and I to address. If you have plenty of clients and you're wondering, well, as they go away one by one, where do I get more clients, or how do I get clients? There's another area. How do I price myself? Drayton, we had a couple people last time. We're not sure how they should price themselves, by the hour, by the retainer fee, whether or not $100 an hour is way too much or way too little, and things like that. No holds barred, right, Drayton? Anything that's on your top of mind, we're willing to work with you and see if we can't make a difference, coach you live right now on this call.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to approach this, Gary. And one of the things that we find is that there's a direct correlation between what people charge and their level of confidence. And we know that that's such a big deal. We're here as servants, right? We're called to coaching because we want to serve people. But one of the things we think, it's almost like a zero-sum game, that we can't charge a lot because then we wouldn't be in service. And the reality is, we know that you've got to earn more to serve more. So that whole money conversation is a big deal and paramount with so many coaches. And I'd like to just, Gary, let's have a really candid conversation about that, just in terms of what people are making. So what do you see with the people in your universe? How much are people making doing what they do?
Oh boy, you know how to set me up, Drayton. You're just so good at this. This is great. I've seen as low as $25 or $50 an hour, whether it's on a retainer fee or put into an hourly rate, all the way up to probably tops I've seen is about $2,500 an hour for one-on-one coaching. I've seen everything in between. People have a tendency, Drayton, to price themselves a little bit too low, and as you said, what the result, the net gain out of that for them is their confidence level's not there, and so then they're not sure what kind of coaching or how to deliver it, and if they're making an impact or not. And all these things are silly. Drayton and I can help you with all of that stuff. And my feelings are that you should be somewhere between, just so people have something to think about, $400 to $600 per hour on a monthly retainer fee. So you should be seeing your clients 3-4 times a month, somewhere the way we do it at businesscoach.com, somewhere around 90 minutes per week, give or take. Occasionally there's a phone call or an email that's on top of that. Typically it's face-to-face. Doesn't have to be face-to-face. Here's another question we had last time. Do the rates change? If it's face-to-face, do I charge more, or if it's over the phone, do I charge less? My answer is no. It's the same either way. They get the same value. And the way you want to leave your clients is that I made a difference in that meeting, whether it's on the phone, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's a 30-minute meeting or a 2-hour meeting. You want to leave your client in a space where they're saying, wow, that rocked my world. That changed my life. Drayton?
Yeah, we have a little bit different approach, just that we've embraced over the years on the strictly executive coaching side of things, and it comes from my experience and from experience of a lot of coaches that we've encountered and some of the things we've heard. We rarely anything in person. And that's because we work with people to have a virtual, however they approach it with practice, their business, whatever they want to call it, virtual presence. And we know that for efficiencies, I know, Gary, a lot of yours is on-site and observational and doing a little different things. We're getting our work done with executives who have very chaotic schedules. And we ask them to commit sacred time, and we do it in 30-minute sessions. And we found that go beyond that, they start trying to multitask, they get interrupted, just, the focus is not there. So we do it in 3 30-minute sessions a month with a monthly retainer. And we found that that works extremely well. We would, when we do things in person, if that's a requirement and you have a client, and some of them will say, I really want to meet in person. They just have that preference, and I get that. Our rates go up significantly when we do that because we've got drive time. I've never seen anyone stick to a 30-minute in-person session. It doesn't work that way. You just get too involved, and it turns into a 90-minute session. So we found that it can be a time sponge if you don't watch it very, very carefully.
Very good. And
I got a comment.
Yeah, go ahead. I think it's great for people to see the contrast in that. It's great. The different styles, and you're right, we do a lot more face-to-face because of the circumstances, and oftentimes employees are introduced, et cetera, and it's hard to steep that relationship over the phone. So both ways are perfect.
And one of the great things, too, in terms of broadening all of your horizons, don't think about this work as being limited in any way geographically. We do work all over the world. We've taught people in 36 countries, and we do all the time zones. So you can do the same thing. Don't feel like you have to limit yourself geographically in doing this work. And we got a comment here from Aaron, and I would guess with all the people we have, and this is the biggest group we've had so far with us live, Aaron said, need more income for sure, more clients. And folks, I would guess that 95% of the people here listening to us are in a similar boat. So know that because you're here and you will have a desire to learn, that puts you head and shoulders above others that are out there not trying to better themselves and learn more around these things. And we know that this income thing, and Gary, I've just seen recent data that only 5% of coaches make 6 figures or more. And from where we sit, we think that that should be just kind of the basic basement, if you will, of income for coaches. So $100,000 and up. If you're not there, then there's one quick thing, Gary, I'm going to give just a little suggestion here, which I find that coaches rarely do. Right now, if you're making less than $100,000 a year, dedicate 1 full day of your week to nothing but sales and marketing. And I'm not talking about picking up the phone and calling people. I'm talking about coming up with your strategy first and foremost to get clients. I find so many coaches that, I'm not making enough income, and yet they don't spend the time and the effort and have a strategy around how to build their business. And that can be the death knell. So pull out your calendars right now, pick one day every single week, be it Monday, Friday, whatever works for you, and devote that entire day. Turn off the phones. Don't have any client calls if you have existing clients, and focus on your strategy. If you ask 100 coaches, I would venture a guess that maybe one or two of them have a written strategy. Gary, what do you think about that?
Everything you said so far, I ditto. I would add to that. We call it a map, your marketing action plan. And you want to have a roadmap as to how you're going to get clients and how you're going to get in front of clients, or in the case of executive coaching, be on the phone with clients and potential clients. So here's what I would suggest that you do. I would say at least one day, one full day. And for those of you that are not disciplined enough or can't sit still that long, 2 half days. Make it, every Wednesday morning and every Thursday afternoon, as an example, you spend 4 hours working on client attraction, and I'm going to throw that umbrella out there, client attraction. And I don't want to hog up the whole time because it's one of my favorite topics, but I do want to say that people say, well, where am I going to get clients? Well, who do I talk to? Or people say, I'll get on the phone and I'll call. Who do I call? Where do I get the information? How do I know how to get them on the phone? How do I get past the gatekeeper? The place to start that's easiest for those of you that want to gain income and get going right away, and that will discipline yourself to do a minimum, and Drayton says 8 hours, I say a minimum of 8 hours of time where you're working on client attraction. They're probably the easiest way that you can do that is to find people that are close to you. So most people have a CPA, an attorney, an insurance agent, etc. Start with people that are close to you. Those people need coaches as well, and if they don't, when you get done speaking with them and giving your presentation to them, we like to call it a demonstration. We believe that you should demonstrate coaching, not try to define it or make a presentation about coaching. When you do that process with them, if the answer is no, it's a real simple question. I wonder, while I was doing my demonstration, were you thinking of somebody that's in your life that could use my services, that I could really make a difference in their life? And that's what I'm committed to, making a difference in their life. So you don't have to go out and buy lists or create a marketing engine necessarily. There's people that are close to you, and if you could pick the 8, 10, 12 people closest to you, do a demonstration for them, and then ask them for the name or a phone number. Ask them to call someone and set up another one for you, because you want to make it so valuable that they're actually thinking of someone else that they could refer you to as well. And that's just a quick thought that I had, Drayton, just to kind of get people going here today and see if we could help right away for some of those that are eager to get more business.
And there are a couple of super important things that you need to do in conjunction with what Gary just described, and we spoke to it last time. The first thing, the most important thing that you need to do is figure out who your target audience is.
Amen.
If it's a broad brushstroke, folks, I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to be in business this time next year. I hate to be so blunt, but that's the reality. You have to go narrow and deep, and you have to really become crystal clear along the lines of who you're here to serve and their points of pain, and make sure that you, every morning you get up, you know who your ideal client is. The other big thing around that is, once you do that, and once you get that and it's just ingrained and you know every single day who your ideal client is, everything that you do, you write, you create is geared toward that, you embrace the idea of being a thought leader in that space. And once you, and that's going to help your confidence tremendously. And Gary, I sense people out there go, what, thought leader? Can I do that? Well, yeah, you can. You can. And that's what it takes to differentiate yourself from other people out there. You go narrow and deep, you become the thought leader in that space, and you'll be blown away with what will happen with your practice. You won't have to go out and do all this networking stuff, which is the bane of everyone's existence, because all the people that are there are just there because they need business too.
Yeah.
So and that's not a way to go. The first thing is figure out who you're here to serve and use your journey as the roadmap. What have you learned along your way that will and take inventory of this life inventory. Go back to your life and look at all the experiences that you have gained, and then see, because of that, the wisdom you have gleaned over the years from everything you've experienced, what does that point to in terms of thought leadership? And that will be a huge indicator of where you need to focus.
Oh, and do I have an example, Drayton, if I could jump in here? I talked to a lady. A lady was referred to me this last week, and she said, Coach Gary, I think I want to take your training program, and I want to understand and learn how to become a master business coach. And we dialogue back and forth. At the end of the call, I said, I have a sense that you really know what it takes to do this. I said, tell me what your niche market is. And I love this, Drayton. This was so great. She says, I want to work with dentists. And I said, great. And she said, I'm not done, Coach Gary, comma, female dentists, comma, in a certain area, in a certain region, close proximity to like she lives right in the middle of the area where this zone and I said, well, are they out there? She says, you betcha, Coach Gary. And she said, you know what I found out? I found out that it's a male-dominated industry, and the women like to hang out together. So she found out where the luncheons are. She finds out where their conventions, or which part of the convention where the ladies hang out and where they go listen to certain speakers. And she's created presentations and demonstrations and a process to get in front of these people. And they all want her to be the keynote speaker for all of their the various events that we found out, because that's her niche market, and she's gone narrow and deep. So she's like on a first name basis with all of these people in her niche, and she's hanging out with them, and she's going to lunch with them, and she's even got it set up that I'm going to charge X, and if they can't afford X or Y, then there's no payment programs. There's no this. This is the kind of person I'm looking for. This certain type of person. Here's what their points of pain are. Here's where they're struggling. Here's where their needs are, and here's how I can make a difference in their life. She had it all mapped out. She hasn't even gotten trained as a business coach yet.
There you go. There you go. That kind of clarity leads to success. And if you're out there just thinking, I want to coach people, we're here to say you need to focus. That's the first thing. So all of you, Gary, I feel compelled to give everybody an exercise right now. So right now, write down who your ideal client is. And when we do this with our folks, we have them to the point where, you know, it's age, characteristic, points of pain, all of these things they can completely articulate. And so as you listen to this, write down who you're here to serve and become very clear about that. And then once you do that, give thought. The B piece of this is think about what you want to be a thought leader in. What group? So you think about these people you're serving. So what do you want to be known as? What do you want to be a thought leader in? And it's things that you can speak to, that you'll write about, that all these different things that you can be that are relative and completely contingent upon this thought leadership mindset. Because Gary, it really is a mindset. So you're going from being, I want to be a coach, or I'm kind of a struggling coach, to, hey, my shoulders are going back, I'm puffing my chest out, and I'm a thought leader in the following. And that's where we would like for you to be. And when you're doing that, you can articulate it. So how many coaches, Gary, you walk up to them and say, tell me what you do? And that takes them 15 stumbles and ahas to tell you exactly what they do.
And then I still don't know what they do after they tell me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, we've got some great questions here, too, and this is from Frank. How important is a website? How about an autoresponder system? And, folks, it's a great question because some of you may be, you know, beyond this in terms of your evolution in business, but a lot of people aren't. And these kind of questions are really important to get addressed, and that's what we want to do. So, Gary, you want to jump on that just in terms of website and autoresponder?
Yeah. I would say in my world, a website is not important. If you have a great website, that's great. The question then becomes, how do people find you? How are people going to go to that website? So a fancy website's not necessary. I would say for an astute coach, a website would be more like a business card or an advanced business card or a overview of who you are, what you do, your bio, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't have to be complicated and fancy. I wouldn't spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on it. And the key for me would be that I would offer on your website, and again, it depends on who's going to come to your website because people don't just show up. There's got to be a way of having people go to your website. When people get there, I would have a free report of some kind or some version of way that they could contact you by offering a free report or a free opportunity for them to email you or be in contact with you so you get their email address and then you stay in touch with them vis-a-vis email. Offer a newsletter, coach's tip of the week, whatever it would be, so that people can get familiar with you and get to know you, and eventually you're going to have a conversation with them. Now, that would be my short answer, Drayton. I don't want to go any further than that because I get real wound up on all the nuances of this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Your turn.
Well, and we take a little different approach to it, and this is going to dovetail with what I was chatting about in terms of being a thought leader. My personal bias is website's mandatory. And here's the caveat. The old style websites that used to, which, you know, Gary and I have spent tons of money on over the years, you don't have to go that route. What you can do is get a WordPress. It's W-O-R-D, capital P-R-E-S-S, just Google WordPress. And you can do some of these for, you know, spend $50. And get a WordPress site on your URL, whatever you get, and we use GoDaddy we probably have 100 different URLs that we own. And we use GoDaddy to purchase those, GoDaddy.com. They're one of the bigger ones out there. And get a WordPress blog site. And you can find there's people all over the place that will do this for you, and it might cost you total $100, $200 to do this. If you're going to be a thought leader, you need to get your thoughts out there. And the best way to do that is to create a blog and write consistently and get your thoughts out there. Remember, you're writing to address the points of pain of these people that you've identified that you want to serve. And don't have a static site with just, you know, very little change to it. Give them information that is helpful to them, that speaks to them. So if, let's say, going back to Gary's example of this lady who's serving female dentists, so they may have issues with life balance and having a family and running a practice. So she'll write articles about those things and how to create more balance and how to address your priorities and all those things that are addressing their points of pain. And write to those things. And become the messenger, the thought leader around these various points of pain. And it's so easy to do with the technology. It's not like even 5 years ago where it cost thousands of dollars and all this hassle to get things put up. You can get a URL and a WordPress blog site up within 2 or 3 days. And then as long as you're clear on who you're here to serve and what their points of pain are, then you can start writing about that. And these other things, you know, the autoresponders, Gary, let's throw out a few companies that they can look into to investigate around this, because the next step to all of this is your CRM system, which is kind of your customer management system. and your shopping carts and things like that. And we don't want to overwhelm you, but these are things to look into. So the first step is to really, if you don't have a web presence, and maybe you're not even blogging on your website today, then get that component plugged in and start blogging, start writing, and addressing people's points of pain that you're serving. Now, shopping carts, you can go to oneshoppingcart.com. There are all kinds of different systems. You can use Google Checkout. You can use, Yahoo's got a shopping cart that's very easy to get set up. There aren't a lot of barriers. What I recommend, Gary, and I want to get your viewpoint on this, is don't try to become the expert in all of these things. And I'm saying this from personal experience, because I love to dive in, especially on the tech stuff, and because it excites me, and chasing that shiny object kind of jumps in from time to time. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned in doing this and trying to stay ahead of the technology or keeping up with it is don't try to learn it yourself. Don't try to learn how to write code. Don't try to learn how to get your WordPress site up and running. Let others do that. And you think, oh, I don't have the money to do that. Well, you don't have the money to not do that, because you need to spend your time in your highest and best use. And so, Gary, what we recommend is go to odesk.com, odesk.com, or elance.com, or brickworks.com. All of these are outsourced virtual assistants, and you can find expertise in anything that you need for minimal investments. And just make that commitment to yourself that you're not going to try to do all of these things on your own and spend your precious time learning how to do all this. Your highest and best use is doing everything that you can to become that thought leader, writing, interacting with prospects, all those things that are not related to the things under the hood. Gary, your thoughts on this?
Okay, so you got the cart before the horse there, my friend. I'm trying to make a joke here. The assumption that Drayton is making is that when you're going to use some of these systems, that you might be taking credit cards in some of the cases. So if you're going to go the route of taking credit cards and doing all that, I agree with everything that Drayton said about you don't want to try to figure all this out yourself. It's very complex to accept credit cards, particularly if it's an automated credit card system. But you can, I like, of all the ones that he mentioned, we use One Shopping Cart. We like them, and it's pretty easy, pretty flexible to use. And the reason why I said you got the cart before the horse is because you also have a database management system in that particular one. And some of the others have that too, and you can, I don't know, do we even dare mention the expensive ones, Drayton, but if you get like One Shopping Cart, or if you go, there's another database management system called Aweber that doesn't have the shopping cart piece to it, that you just want to manage a database. Those are two really good ones so that you can manage your community if you're going to have a database of people. And number one, and number two, if you're going to take credit cards, you can do it all with One Shopping Cart for one price. And the learning curve is a little steep. Get some help. As Drayton said, don't try to figure it out yourself. It can get complex. Now, that being said, maybe you don't need all of that. Maybe if you're going to have a blog site and you're going to track people and whatnot, maybe there's other ways to do it. And I'm not sure of all the details of that. But I agree with the blog idea. And I thought you were going to say, Drayton, go blog on other people's blogs. Go find out where female dentists hang out, and go make a contribution to their blog as well. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And what you'll find is that when you do things like that, you'll start building up a referral network. And the quid pro quo, the reciprocity approach, is a great one. So For instance, Gary and I will share things across our platforms, and we've been talking about that, and that's a great way to do it because you help each other. It's very complementary, and then you build up your exposure. And Gary, I want to go back to one thing that you said in terms of the giveaway, and let's talk about databases.
Yeah.
And why this is important. So you've figured out what you're a thought leader in. You figure out who you're serving. So what you want to do is get the eyeballs and the top of mind thoughts from those people. So in order to do that, when they come to your site or they contact you in any way, you want to give them something that is a piece of your brain. A white paper, it might be an e-book, and again, don't feel like this is a daunting thing. It's very basic. You can write a 3-page white paper talking about their points of pain and how to help them with that. Don't ever think about selling, selling, selling. Think about being of service. Think about what they're going through and how you can help them in these areas. And that will be your giveaway. And then when you have that, you want to make sure that there is a trade. So they're trading, they're giving you their email address and contact information. So John Doe, here's my email address, so you can stay in contact with them. John Doe's getting your free white paper. The other piece of this, and I don't want to get too complex, but on the blog side of things, the way things are being done now is that people subscribe to your, is called an RSS feed. So what will happen is instead of them having to give you their email address, they'll click a button and they'll give you, they'll give you that information, but they'll get your feed. They'll subscribe to your feed from your blog. So every time that you post something on your blog, they're saying, I want to read that, and I want to hear more from this person. And so they'll subscribe to your blog. And that, we have found, is the way things have been heading for quite a while. Email approach and that relationship is still good, still viable, yet a lot of people are getting very, very burned out and guarded about all the email stuff. I'm sure everybody's shaking their heads going, yeah. So the RSS feed puts the power in the hands of the people saying, I'm interested in this information this person's writing, and I want to see it when it comes out on my terms, right? It's going to be sent to me, but only when they write something that may be of interest to me.
Perfect. Perfect. And again, I think it's incumbent upon us to say, Drayton, that this is a way to become a thought leader. This is, you don't even have to declare yourself thought leader. Other people will start saying you're a thought leader if you start writing specific blogs to specific groups of people that have a specific set of issues that they're dealing with. But this is not your entire marketing strategy, or this is not the only way that you're going to relate to your clients. As Drayton started out at the very beginning of this, said, what is your strategy? How are you going to get clients? This is one piece to a puzzle of many pieces that you may want to do. You don't have to do them all, but there's a lot of different choices you could have. Now, I talked to somebody. I'm like you on the networking group thing. Drayton used to drive me crazy. I've gone to all these meetings, and all I met were other salespeople and other business owners that wanted to try to get more business, and that obviously didn't necessarily always do well for me. But I spoke to a gentleman in Canada one day, and he says, he said, Coach Gary, do you think I should join this, he called it a networking group, but it legitimately wasn't. It was sort of like a Rotary Club or whatever. And I said, well, who's in the group? I said, normally it's not the right blend of people in the group. Well, it's about 150 business owners, and the businesses all range between 1 million and 100 million in annual sales. And they get together first for about an hour, and everybody chats, and then they have a lunch, and then there's usually a keynote speaker. And everybody who's a member always gets an opportunity to be a keynote speaker. I said, how much is it? He said, $150 a year. I said, don't walk, run, join for that. If you like doing that kind of stuff, it's a great opportunity because it's a concentrated group of people that share in common with this gentleman the kind of people that he wanted to coach. And maybe only a percentage of them fit that, but everybody might know somebody who's a female dentist that they could refer him to in that case. So, there's got to be a nice, happy blend of ways that you attract yourself to clients. And I think I may have said it last month, but if I didn't, let me say it. The 2 rules that I love to tell people that are my 2 top favorite client attraction rules or marketing rules are this. They're real simple, they're real short, real sweet. Number 1, it's always better if they call you as opposed to you calling them. So if you can find a way for people to attract themselves to whatever it is that you're blogging for, whatever, if they email or call you, or if they contact you before you contact them, literally to set up an appointment or to talk to you, that's the best possible scenario rather than you contacting them. And the other thing is it's always better when you get paid to get in front of people that are your potential clients. So if somebody's willing to pay you to be a keynote speaker because you are a thought leader in your particular niche, and you can get up in front of your potential clients and talk to them about their issues, what they're struggling with, and offer solutions to them and offer ways to help them, then if you can get paid to do that, then you're in the driver's seat. Just do that. Do as much of that as you can. And it's not necessarily easy to do that, but if that scenario presents itself, you have a great opportunity laying in front of you.
I think what I pull from that, Gary, is that, don't give your stuff away. I mean, barring your giveaway to get your database built, just value yourself and just know that what you provide is really important and very valuable to people. So don't undervalue yourself in terms of just giving away free talks, unless, as Gary said, the ideal audience. Don't give your stuff away. Price yourself way below where you should in terms of your one-on-one or group coaching. Just value what you do, because it's impossible to put a price tag on helping someone change their life. It is impossible. So know that every time you work with a client, you have that potential. And that is worth so much to so many. And just know that. And Gary, we got a great comment here from Abe. He said, PayPal and WordPress. Yeah, absolutely. So instead of, getting, oneshoppingcart.com, you can just go to PayPal and set up an account and start taking payments from clients in that fashion. And you could do that within minutes of the conclusion of this call. So there are ways to do it where you don't have to go through maybe the hassle or the sophistication of going through and setting all this stuff up. Just go get a PayPal account. And he goes on to say, keep it simple and have blog linked to a Facebook page that is linked to Twitter. Now we're opening up Pandora's box of social media. So Abe, you're way down the path, and that is great, and it's so true. Let's just make a statement around this. And if you guys, and again, keep the questions coming, because just make sure, make sure we're addressing what you want. So keep the questions coming. These are great questions and observations. It doesn't have to be that complicated in terms of social media. And part of thought leadership, and I don't want to overwhelm, too many people, Gary, with this. Part of thought leadership is expressing your thoughts in all these different areas. So yes, you want to have a Twitter account. Yes, you want to have a Facebook page under your name, or maybe you've written a book under your book's name or something like that. That is great. The key is all of these things need to be linked. So the synergy of this approach, and again, this goes back to your strategy. And Gary, I'll just relate my story around social media. How about that?
Fire.
And this goes back 4 years now, maybe 4 years now. We had one of our students who was going down that path of social media, and he must have sent me half a dozen messages about this and said, hey, this is what's going on. You need to get involved with this and spread the message, and it's going to be so good, and everybody's going to be doing it. And this is 4 years ago, just when, in its infancy, really. And I said, okay, you bring me some proof as to why I would spend my time on this. And lo and behold, he did. He took a couple classes and brought a bunch of data to me and said, I'll help you with it. And I said, great. Well, that has led to enormous growth for us, and our social media presence on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook is really something else now. And I went into this kicking and screaming, thinking, oh my goodness gracious, it's going to be the biggest time sponge and you're not going to get anything done. You're just going to go into this vortex called social media. And yes, you can do that. But the message I want to leave with people, Gary, is that it's unavoidable. If you don't have a strategy around social media right now, you need to get one. And you see a lot of people offering this stuff. I would say this is the type of thing, start small. Start with your Twitter account. Set up a Twitter account, and every time you just make a blog posting, simply put something on Twitter to that effect. And Gary, maybe let's see a show of hands. Would it be helpful for all of you to get more information in one of these calls in the future session around social media and how to do it? Because Gary, we've taught classes on this stuff and told a lot of people around the world how to do this. Just raise your hand in the console here if that would be helpful for all of you to go much more in depth around social media, how to do it, the ins and outs, all the things around that. So just put your hand up so we can get a good show for folks here. So just keep your hand up if social media would be important for you to know about. So Gary, I look at all of this as I always come back to the strategy. So do you have, and when I talk about strategy, it may just be a 3-page document defining and articulating what your strategy is. So you'll start with your target market. You'll talk about what you're a thought leader in. You'll talk about your ideal mix of business. And Gary, why don't you speak to, when you work with clients, people that come through businesscoach.com, what kind of model do they use in terms of how much one-on-one work they do, group work, and other things?
Well, it's a personal preference, and it varies, obviously, from person to person, student to student. But what we recommend is that people start off with the one-to-one, and then take a look at where do they want to go from there. What is the what's the thing that they're most attracted to? And almost always in our class, or when I'm on the phone with somebody, they say, well, I'm really attracted to having so many one-on-one clients, and then I want to do some group coaching along with that. I have a particular wisdom or style or background that I'm really good at working with people in groups. I want to have X amount of people or X amount of groups of coaching. Group coaching, and then other people say, "Oh boy, I don't like that. I don't even want to work with people in group coaching. I want to do one-on-one coaching, and I want to do some profiles and assessments, because the profiles and assessments in their world, because they came from corporate America or they came from a background where they had some experience in that, they wanted to complement the coaching with profiles and assessments. Now, again, this varies from person to person and the background to background where people come from and how they do that. And then I always recommend it to everyone, Drayton. And again, this is a business coaching model. Doesn't necessarily you can speak to the executive coaching side. I recommend that all of our students, if you have one-on-one clients and you're working with them and they have probably a minimum of 25 to 50 employees, then you should be offering as an additional service, getting paid additional to do trainings and seminars and workshops for the different people. So, for example, in our material, we say here's a whole workshop that's written for you on team building. You can do a half day, a 1 day, a 2 day on team building. Leadership, same thing. Customer service and excellence. These kinds of things are really, really great. And then, of course, you and I have been talking about this last couple of weeks. You know I'm going to go here, but you're just waiting for me to say it. But the other thing I love is facilitating retreats and facilitating meetings for our clients. So I always recommend that all of our graduates recommend, again, it's an additional fee. If it's a big enough organization, take your executives away for a weekend once a year, or even sometimes twice a year, and have an executive training and planning retreat so that you can work with those folks and set up their business model for that next year. So October, November, December, that's what you should be working with your clients on, setting it up so that they can hit the ground running on the following year. Now, of course, it only makes sense. There's a couple of things I want to say here about this, Drayton. It only makes sense if you're having your clients do a year-end retreat and the planning retreat, and they're planning their future. You should be doing that. So that's what Drayton's been advocating here. The other thing is that do you have a coach? Who's mentoring you? Who's coaching you? And we don't have time to talk about that in detail today, but there's another way that you can get the most out of your coaching practice is to have someone coaching you and holding you accountable to doing these things that Drayton and I are advocating that you need to do. Okay, Drayton, I'm off my soapbox. Back to you, buddy.
No, that was good. That was good. And one thing I'm going to go back to, because I think it's a really key point here, follow your passion. As Gary said, hone in on the things that really jazz you. So if it's getting in the front of a room and facilitating and or speaking, do that. Follow your passion, because that will give you, that we call it inspired action. You'll take that inspired action based on what you're really passionate about, and that will fuel your business tremendously. If you find that some things, maybe, let's say, group coaching, doesn't feed your soul, don't do it. That's the beauty of what we have in front of us in this our business models, is that there are so many different ways to make money, and to do it in alignment with what you really deeply care about is the most important thing. So when you look at your strategy, your business model, then think about that in depth. Okay, I know I'm going to jump out of bed in the morning if I have 3 one-on-one coaching clients a day, and my energy will be up and sustained, and I can still do these other things. So think about your model. So percentage of time, we look at it as think of this as a big round ball, and that round ball represents 100%. So the pie. So the sliver of that for one-on-one coaching is what? The sliver of that for group coaching is what? For facilitation is what? For speaking is what? And look at this in that pie fashion. Do a pie chart and rough this stuff in, and then manage to that. And you'll be amazed. Once you have a strategy, it's like this lighthouse. I mean, it's going to guide you to where you need to go. But first and foremost, you have to have a strategy. And Gary, we got, I would say, about 25% of the people raised their hands in terms of the social media subject. So we'll be happy to speak to that in coming sessions. It's, it seems for a lot of people, Gary, that aren't involved in that world, it seems like this big mystery, and how do I get involved? And we'll make it very simple and step-by-step, because, Gary, I think from everything that I've seen, I think that for our particular industry is probably going to be coupled with blogging and that thought leadership approach. I think it's going to be the most important marketing opportunities for everyone.
If it's done right. And that's, I noticed that you're being very careful in some areas to go into detail to let people know if it's done right, and that's what you and I want to advocate for our listeners, and and for our fan base here, we want to make sure that you're not doing these things and spending lots of money and not getting results. We want you to leverage your time, leverage your talents, leverage your experience, and do it right so that we can get you off on a good path. And again, we don't have all the answers, and we don't even have all the questions. But what we do have is we can share some insights with you of things that's worked for us and that haven't worked for us, so you can get off to a good start and you can find yourself some experts. And like Drayton said, there's Elance and all kinds of places out there where you can find people and hire people that are very capable, and you can sometimes test their work before you come up with any money, and make sure that you get some really good quality people helping you and supporting you. And you don't have to do all this stuff. Don't do it all. Pick the things that you're passionate about. Pick the things that you feel you can be a real asset to another organization or another person, and bore down and do really, really well in those areas.
Yeah, and that's such an important thing. And folks, what we want you to do, I'm going to keep beating this horse, and that is, it's about strategy. Because any of these things, you can't just jump on Twitter and start doing things. I wouldn't advocate that at all. Once you have your strategy and know what you're a thought leader about, then you start using social media to spread that thought leadership out there. And it's not the other way around. And we found, and Gary and I have chased a lot of parked cars, folks, so we've gotten our nose bashed in a number of times. So we want you to learn from the things that we did that were not the right thing to do. So we will shed light on this in the coming sessions in terms of how to do this the right way. But know that it all starts with defining who your audience is, defining their points of pain, and then developing your thought leadership platform around that. Because one thing, and Gary, I'm going to give folks some homework. We would like for you to just be an observer between now and our next get-together, and look at the way some people go on Facebook, follow some people, become friends with some people that you know and respect, and see how they're doing it. Some people are doing it incredibly well, and some people it's completely haphazard. You can tell they don't have a strategy at all. And just think about what best in class looks like. And you can do this readily by looking at how others are doing it. I'm a student of this game, and I know Gary is too. And I look at people a lot in terms of what the people I know and respect in our industry, or just in the broader industry in terms of personal development, and see what they're doing and seeing what the new things are. And Gary, quite frankly, you and I can stay on the bleeding edge and get all cut up from this, and then just relate it to folks so they don't have to go through all that brain damage.
That works for me. If we can help people get to the source and not waste time and not waste a lot of money. And Drayton, I've seen people waste so much money and so much time, and I'm one of them. You don't need to do that. We can help you and create ways that can get you right to the source, and you don't have to waste a lot of time and money.
And let's give some really good information to people right now, Gary, around the whole money piece. Folks, it is a fraction of what it used to be in terms of what you need to spend to do this well. In the 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was costing us, every time you wanted to do a new website, a new marketing initiative, it would be tens of thousands of dollars. And that keeps a lot of people out of the market. Nowadays, it is incredibly democratic. And truly, if you've got a marketing budget of $1,000, you can do amazing things. And when we go through the social media, we'll tell you all the things that you can get in terms of the tools that automate it, that make it very simplistic, and also are incredibly cost effective, and you get a great return on your investment. So the good news in all of this is where before it cost you, even 5 years ago, it might have been $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to do the things that you needed to do. If you have 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 today, you're going to be in great shape as a starting point to build your platform. Gary, would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I spent a lot more than the northern number that you said. Because I started years ago. I thought, well, I have the name businesscoach.com, and this would be a good way for me to leverage it. So it was really expensive to start a website when I first did mine, and I spent a fortune getting started. And today you can get a nice WordPress website and get it done and get up and running, like you said, in a short period of time. And I can't even use the word fraction. It would be the sales tax on what I paid.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's the good news. You know, the barriers to entry are greatly diminished now than they were before. And the other cool thing is that with social media, we've seen. In fact, I've got friends and colleagues that have spent, you know, $10,000 to $20,000 a month with Google AdWords that now are spending a fraction of that, maybe 10% of that, because of what they can do on social media. And that's what we've experienced as well. With firsthand knowledge, I will tell you, we used to throw money into the black hole called Google AdWords and couldn't determine what the return on investment was. And now on social media, we can do split testing and all these things and figure out exactly where the traffic's coming from and see where our biggest bang for the buck, even if we have to, it may not even be a buck we spend. It may just be unleashing certain campaigns through certain outlets that cost us $0 to do. And that's what we want you to be inspired about, knowing that if you don't have a big budget, you can still get these things done.
Well said. Well said. I think we're onto something here, and I think we can do some really good work with people and help people get some results and get started on the right foot.
So what we'd like to do, we've just got a couple of minutes left, folks. If you have any other questions, pose them now, and what we'll do is document these and carry them forward into coming sessions. Again, Gary and I are here to address anything that you want and need. So right now, put them into the dialog box. Shoot your questions over. What's really pressing for you? We had some other comments here about, boy, I'm just starting out. I'm really scared, and I'm not sure how to get clients. And Gary, my guess is no matter where you are on the spectrum as a coach, I bet you probably need more clients. And one of the things that we'd ask you to think about is taking your blinders off in terms of just thinking about, as you may be thinking about now, one-on-one clients. That's a very broad thing. And as you become a thought leader, it's going to become more of your tribe, your village, however you want to address that, and getting your message out to more people experiencing these collective points of pain in your particular niche. And so we want you to think bigger. We want you to think, when you say clients, you're probably thinking, boy, that next client that can pay me so I can make my rental payment. And we want you to think clients in terms of dozens or hundreds of people that you can do a teleclass for that will buy your next product that will help them change their lives. So think big.
So send us questions. If you have any questions, send us some questions that you have. We'll address those in the future. Go to our blog, go to the Coaching Crucible and blog with us, and we can give you some answers and some responses that way. And tell your friends. We want to grow the community and grow the amount of questions and the amount of people that we help. And there's probably going to be a point when sometime, like Abe did today, we'll get feedback from other people as well that can really help you and help us help you. So Stay tuned. Be with us every month. We look forward to having you. And great. And I'm just having fun. I love doing this. I think it's a great format. And let's do it again next month.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Gary and I are committed to this, folks, long term, and we're here to be of service. So drop us a note. You'll get the recording, the link to the recording. We have hundreds upon hundreds of people signed up. A fraction come in and are live with us, but we had a really good group, our biggest group so far. So do tell your friends. I mean, just bring them. Get them sign up. Just bring them. You can tell it's no pitch. We're just here to be of service. So bring your folks, because the more people we can help, we know the more people they can help. This is our big boomerang. We're putting it out there, so we know that it will have a greater impact on, quite frankly, the world with the work that we do. So Gary and I thank all of you. Thanks for being a coach. No matter what kind of discipline, what your special area of specialty is, thanks for doing what you're doing, because it really is a calling. And you're being of service to other people, helping them change their lives. So thank you. So until next month, we look forward to chatting with you over on the Crucible site. So until then, take good care.
Goodbye, everybody.